Hello, my name is Randy Edmonds, and my gender pronouns are he, him, his.
My name is MJ Rodriguez, and my preferred pronouns are, I use all pronouns. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Blanche Ogburn. I identify as she/her.
So my first question to you would be, what has been your experience when it comes to dating as a gay man? What has been your experience with that?
Well, it's been super challenging. I came out with basically with the invention of the internet. So the challenge has been really crazy because now the internet, what it did was it gave us less of an opportunity to be interactive on a personal level, because everybody was, well, doing what we're doing right now, talking to each other from behind the screen. But even then, we didn't have the video capability. So a video chat wasn't it. It was always, a text message, an IM, a group chat, or whatever the case may be. And that hindered a lot of what could be like raw emotional connection.
It's been kind of difficult, being a queer person of color, and I think also not being able to, I don't think I fit a cookie cutter like mold of what people want. So it's been hit or miss for me. Yeah. Plus I'm polyamorous too, so that's always a hit or miss.
And for those who don't know what polyamorous is or how that even works, break it down for us.
So polyamory or ethical monogamy is when you could have a partner, you're dating someone and you really like them, so you become boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the dynamics is. But you have already stated to them that you're not non-monogamous, and essentially you let them know of if there's any new interests that come into your life and having that open dialogue and communication. Some people would probably not deal with that, but it's literally talking everything to death. And navigating feelings, going to therapy as well. Therapy is definitely something that does help, especially if you're in the poly lifestyle. But essentially all parties would know about each other, and then depending on the dynamics of the party, you can be a poly V, you can be a poly triad, or a throuple is what people know it as, a polycule. Everyone would know about everyone. It's not all sexual either, everyone does poly. You being friends with people and not having that sexual undertone underneath it, it's still it's very it's the same dynamics for poly. Because some of my partners I've had in my lifetime, I never really got sexual with them, but intellectually they stimulated me, so it was a good time. But that's what poly is, at least my definition. Everyone's definition of poly is a little bit different, or ethical non-monogamy.
So I'm going to separate the two, because when I was younger, I considered myself bisexual, but I don't want to say closeted or DL, but I was more or less closeted or DL, because I would get in relationships, but I never really would tell my partner, oh, I'm this, I wouldn't tell them I was bisexual. And then I think when I was about 26 or 27, I had a friend who, they were actually a straight Greek guy. And I forgot what happened, what led to me having to come out to him, but I ended up coming out to him. And I told him, and he was like, oh, well, I accept you who you are. And if other people don't accept you, then who cares? It's like, you don't need them to give you the confirmation or affirmation that, oh, I choose you. So after 27, I started when I were to date or meet partners, I would tell them not even off the rip, but maybe like at least the first conversation, hey, I'm bisexual. You can either take it or you can leave it. It's like at the end of the day, I don't want to go and live this kind of life where, because everything is about experiences. I didn't want to live this life where I have to cut out a majority or some of my experiences just because the partner that I had doesn't fit what society wants me to have.
Right. And so, so you said you want to separate the bisexual part. Now, what is it like as a person of color, I guess?
So when I was young, first, let me say, I date all races. I don't have like a set race or gender that I will like go up. So when I was in Asia, I dated white, Asian, Latinas. And I made a podcast episode about this on my podcast. And it's regarding how a lot of times it's like, I didn't feel like I was being dated. I felt like they were dating my race. They're like, oh, it's a black guy. It's an experience. Oh, in my country, there's not a lot of black people. So let me date a black person. So I kept getting people saying like, oh, he's black. Oh, he must have, can I say, what's the language? Can I say dirty words? Oh, so for example, I went to Thailand with one of my exes, went to Thailand, and it kept having people coming around and saying, oh, you're lucky to have her. Oh, she must be with you because you're black. Oh, black guys, they got big dicks. Like that. That was like everyone kept using, oh, it's because he's black, that's why she wants him. It's not even that he's a great person, his personality, job, nothing. It was just like, oh, well, black people, they got big dicks, or,
Mm-hmm.
And I started noticing that. I never noticed when I was younger, but then as I got older, maybe that 26, 27, when your mind changes, I started like, man, I'm getting fetishized right now. What am I doing? Is this person with me or are they with my race?
As someone who I came out a little bit later on in my life, if you look at my age versus when I actually came out, I was like 30 when I came out. Relationships, how are they different? I think, well, let me think. Let's see, well, Randy, when did you have your first boyfriend? I had my first boyfriend, I think, at 28. And I wasn't out at the time, but I had my first boyfriend at, 28. I would say boyfriend, 28. The way it's a lot. It's very different in the way you meet someone. It just doesn't seem so. I guess, for lack of a better word, secretive. You don't have to be so. Now you don't have to be so discreet about how you approach someone, depending on how. But then again, it still depends on how you're meeting someone. Although, it's more acceptable, now, being gay in social settings and stuff like that. You still have to be careful of if you're not someone who's meeting people online. Like if you're someone who likes to go out to places and meet people that way, which back in my day, that's how we did it. We didn't have the apps and things like or if there was, or I guess if you wanted to do stuff like that, they had things like the Metroland and stuff like that, where you could and these lines that you could meet people on and stuff like that. And then later on, the IT came with all the other apps like Out Personal and all of stuff that you could get online with. But I didn't meet my first boyfriend online. I don't know if many people or many gay people meet this way, but I actually met him. It was my cousins had taken me out for my birthday, and we were in a straight bar, and I met him that way. But it's never been easy, like, to meet someone, that way, because you don't talk about it, versus now, I guess it's maybe a little easier, to approach someone, or maybe people just got nicer.
The dating scene, like, what is it like out there? Because in my opinion, the dating scene everywhere is scary. There are so many different people out there, and it's just hard to find somebody I feel like that fits you. And a lot of people are still struggling with accepting their sexuality. So it's like they meet people like that who aren't really ready. So,
And especially with you personally, you're married. So how did that happen? Like, how did that play out? With you and your wife.
like, how did we meet and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So I met my wife kind of like by accident. It was a freak thing because we were both joining the military, and you're not supposed to meet people in the military. It's not what you're there for. But we definitely met there, and it was just like we just kind of hit it off as two goofy people. But she actually, like, she spent on me. It was a whole story, but overall it was kind of like we were just trying to be friends. We just thought each other were really cool, and we hung out a lot, and then it just kind of progressed from there. And we started off long distance because I was living in Ohio and she was living in New York. So yeah.
So I've been happily married for now 5 years, and I've been with my husband for about, I think, 2008, December of 08. So I think we're going on 13 years together, in December. I think we're very fortunate that we were able to find each other. We basically met through a mutual friend who thought that, he said a lot of things that I'd say, and I'd say a lot of things that he would say. So she was like, I think you both really need to, meet each other. And, our first date was actually about 7.5 hours long. The very first date. You have a lot of first dates where it's like, you can't really wait to get the heck out. Or there's others where you're like, oh, let's see where this goes. But it was right off the bat, it was we both knew after the first date that there was something big happening here. And, we've been inseparable pretty much ever since. But we're fortunate. I think a lot of times, people aren't as lucky finding the one. And you have to kind of go through a lot of trials and errors along the way. I certainly did. And so did he.
Your partner was the late iconic Willie Ninja.
Yes.
Talk about, how you guys met and stuff like that, because I want to compare it to what it's like now. How did you guys meet, and what was the relationship like?
Well, I first met Willie, like most of us have, and that was through Paris is Burning. So I saw Paris is Burning in the early 90s when I was kind of figuring myself out, if you will. And I remember saying to myself, wow, that's an attractive man right there. And lo and behold, a few years later, after I had broken up with my ex-wife at the time. We'd broken up. I had moved to New York City. Actually, I moved to Jersey, but we're close enough. Hanging out in the city and whatever. And we, my best friend and I, may he rest in peace. My best friend and I, we would go out and we'd try all of the new bars that we could find. And one of them was Escuelita, where Willie was the doorman. And I went out, I walked up to him, he asked for the ID, and I walked up to him and I completely geeked out. I was like, oh my God, you're Willie Ninja. And I guess the only thing that really stuck out for him was the fact that, I handed him my military ID card because I was in the Navy at the time, in the reserves. And that kind of stuck out for him. So, I went in, had a good time, came back out, and I said my goodbyes. And I managed to track him down on AOL. Yeah, that's dated. So I tracked him on AOL. We met in a chat room. We started talking there. I told him, I was like, hey, we met the other night, And he remembered. Ironically enough, he remembered. And continued to talk. And I invited him on a date. Several, actually. Because I did it several times before he finally said yes. But instead of us going out, he invited me to his house, and he cooked. He cooked for us, and that was pretty much history from that point on. We were together for 3 years, 3 amazing years, and then he got sick and passed away.
Now, I would imagine having a lover pass away from the HIV/AIDS epidemic, that takes a toll on the partner. Are you able to talk about how that affected you and how you keep his memory alive?
Oh yeah, it's always been something that's been like super hard to deal with. Death is never easy. The permanence that we gain from having somebody there all the time, that permanence being severed, it takes a toll. So with Willie, it was something that was like super emotional. It was like, he cared for me to such an extent that, he left a permanent stamp on my heart. It was not easy because he refused to seek treatment because he had a little bit of paranoia about him being a public figure and being a what's the word I'm looking for? And being an entrepreneur, right? So he had all of the work that he had was contracted, and he was afraid that if people found out that he was HIV positive, that he wouldn't get any work. So he kept that under wraps, and he wouldn't go seek treatment. And he ended up passing away because of his own ignorance. And despite the fact that I had spoken to him on several occasions, he wasn't my first HIV positive boyfriend, but he was the first HIV positive boyfriend that I decided to stick around with. And to explain, and everything rolls out with your maturity level. And the first couple of times that I ran across an HIV positive boyfriend, I ended the relationship because at the time in the military, don't ask, don't tell was a big thing. And then there was a zero HIV, there was zero tolerance for HIV. If you get HIV, you're automatically put out. And I believe that is still a thing. I don't know that for a fact, but I do believe that is still a thing. So I was protecting that. I was protecting that side of my ego, my reputation and whatnot. My career, my future. When I found out that Willie was positive, I I had to make a decision. And looking back at the past, a lot of that was immaturity, because I had something to be scared of. I had something to lose. But with Willie, the loss of him was greater than anything else, right? So losing him was kind of like almost non-negotiable for me. So I stuck with it, and I told him, I said, if you seek treatment, I will be here. At the end of the day, he chose not to, and I was still there. But towards the end, we were not together as a couple, and it hurt. It hurt because after the situation and the life that I've led with my ex-wife and everything that she put me through, I vowed that I would probably never get married again. And Willie changed that. You know, I proposed to him in public. I remember we were at Splash Bar, and I had gathered all of his friends, and I made a big to-do out of it. But you know, we weren't able to carry on with that because he didn't want to do his part. And I had watched many of my friends and a couple of even those exes that had HIV that passed away. And I hate to say that I gave him an ultimatum, but I did. So with him, it was difficult because the ultimatum was not an easy one, but I wanted him to be proactive with his own health. Now understand, he was taking care of his mother who had Parkinson's. Has Parkinson's. She's still with us. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, because I read somewhere on one of the blogs on like, what is it? Not blogs, the Facebook, the IG things that they said she passed. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't think so, or whatnot.
How long ago was that? I mean,
they said 2017 or something like that.
You know, I'll be honest, I don't know, because after Willie passed, we kind of grew apart, his mother and I, only because, and that's mainly my fault again. There was a level of immaturity on my behalf, and being there with her reminded me so much of him and what I lost that it was almost unbearable.